Hello and happy Sunday night. Welcome to Favored Allies. It's been a couple weeks. What's up? When we last left our adventurers here in the Shattered Kingdoms, they had made their way through the mountains on the north branch of the Bog Spine, making their way through the gravel pass, dealing with things such as hellfire wyverns, regular wyverns, some gross ass bug things that crawled out of the ground and just like tyrannided at people. And everyone and their mounts survived, color me shocked, and have made it the way. Did it happen again?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I can hear you on the stream right now, but we couldn't hear you here. So they heard you, we didn't.
fantastic. Well, some of you caught some of that. And you've made it with your mounts to the far side of the mountain to see the open expanse of the Bogspine Hollow. This great valley that falls between the north and south branches of the Bogspine Mountains. You're on the side of the mountain range in what is known as the lands of the grandmother of the mountains. On your way to the Temple of the Moon to get information about various things, Embers only. What do you do? It's, I believe you wrapped up a day of travel, and let's say that we are at the start of a new day, so you have gotten a long rest in. You're at the end of the gravel pass, looking at two pathways that lead down from the gravel pass. One heading eastward, presumably towards the temple, and one heading westward.
Just to track it mentally, the horses by this point are all healed up.
At this point, yes. They don't have that many hit points, but they have a decent constitution, so I believe they are all healed up after 2 rests.
Cool.
Um, when we were back in town, didn't we have like some kind of instruction? Always stay on the path. I remember was one. Don't
Mhm.
go
We have
off.
to. We also have a map,
Yeah.
so we should probably consult the map.
See if that gives us any insight.
Hmm.
Yeah, and as you look over your map, you do see that there is a eastward and a westward path that lead out of Gravel Pass. There's a dotted line after a short time eastward in the direction you'd like to go. It does look like, depending on the weather and the time of year, sometimes there is a proper path and sometimes there is not. So heading eastward, you might run into an end of the path and have to make your way through the forest proper. If you head westward, you know that you can head westward basically a day out of your way, loop down and around, and make your way back east.
I know that at least Elias and I heard directions from the Great Oak about how to find the Mother of the Mountain if we wish to speak with her. Is that like the place where they told us to kind of go off the path? Is that towards this earlier part of travel, or is it like deeper into the forest?
You were told to head down the west path out of the mountain, I believe, for a day's travel, and then do your evocation of the Mother of the Mountain to become invited. Invocation. Evocation's explodey. Invocation of the Mother of the Mountain.
Important distinction.
Forest signal fire.
You're like 9 minutes into the 10-minute ritual evocation, and someone's like, evocation or invocation? Wait, what?
To be
Yeah,
fair, if
that
somebody lit my
sounds.
porch on fire, I'd probably come running.
I was gonna say that sounds like a great start to a already probably tenuous relationship. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like speaking to this Mother of the Mountain is something that needs to happen. Um, I mean, if we had time to speak with um your grandmother, separately, Elias, I think we could probably learn a lot, but whatever she learned that caused her to flee after the ascension and everything else seems like something pretty important that we need to find out, and I don't really know another way of learning that information.
I don't know whether or not this would cause a problem. I also don't know how long we're gonna want to stay at that temple. We are saving as much time as possible with this more dangerous route. I don't know if this is a better idea to hit up the grandmother before going to the temple so that we have a slightly safer option of rest, or to try to speak with her on the way back if we have enough time. Um, it's a risk.
How
Yeah.
important is this for your part of the journey, High Priest?
I mean, essentially, when we get back to Bastion, I want to try to talk to everyone I know who's going into the Ascension. So, um, Ramanari, Olena, and convince everyone not to just kill each other when we get in there. If we can unite around that idea, then I think we can get through the ceremony with multiple of us surviving, which is my main goal. Of course, I want to find out more about, I want to try to talk to the Asher during the Ascension if I can, to find out more about their goals in all of this and what's going on with the old gods and their connection to me. But my main purpose right now is to just find out as much as I can, and I feel like especially Olena and anyone else, there are plenty of other people that will probably be going to the ceremony who we don't know of right now, but it's I'm going to have to give some pretty convincing proof, I feel like, to stop many people from just stepping in immediately and trying to kill everyone. So any information I can find seems pretty important. Any kind of, verified thing we could tell them to convince them.
Quick question, Nate. If I remember correctly, the lore was that, like, for the Asher ceremonies, for the longest time, only the Crasts showed up, effectively, because there was this understanding that, like, everyone's going to die if you go in. So at least for the last couple rounds, it's only been the Crast.
The last couple of rounds, it's been very few.
Gotcha.
It's been fewer and fewer. So when I'm assuming you would have you have shared this information, Antosha, but when Kamishava ascended, it was only Kamishava and two other petitioners.
Okay.
But historically, there was a time when there was 15 or 20 petitioners to become the
Gotcha.
the bride of the Asher or the spouse of the Asher.
So it may not just be us and Olena and Ramanari and all the other stuff. It may actually be people we haven't met yet. Okay.
Well, here's my 2 cents for what it's worth. Is that if this is important, as much as I would love to see my beloved friend, the priest at the priestess at the Temple of the Moon, and maybe even some of my family, if this is important, then we prioritize it on the way in, because we may be in too much a hurry coming back.
You're not wrong. I My fear is whether or not whatever you would have to pay will be worth what we find out. And obviously that's a choice that you have to make yourself. But I cannot think at this moment of anything that the Grandmother of Mountains could tell us. At least from my very limited experience, that would make Olena change her mind.
Well, I think I'm interested in finding out whatever Svafa knew, because she obviously, took some pretty drastic action
Yeah.
based on the information she got from this person. And I think I could also ask some other questions about things we need to know, since this is an ancient, being.
Mhm.
She probably knows things about the old gods, so if we have questions about that, I could ask her about that.
Do you know what you're prepared to give? You don't have to tell me what it is. I don't need to know what it is, but do you know what you're prepared to give?
I do have an idea of something. Yes.
All right then.
And if she agrees to take it, I might need your all's help getting down the mountain, because I might not be as able as I currently am.
Am I gonna get to build robot legs?
Let's head eastward then.
Uh-huh.
I'll follow behind. I'm not always good with other people's mamas.
I'll take a point, not because I'm good with mamas, but because I'm good with nature.
Speaking of, as you head down and approach this split in the road, and you can see it kind of from your camp, you knew you were going to be able to have these conversations. You knew the split was coming. You saw it on the map, and you could see it further down the mountain. I would like either a perception or survival check from whoever's leading, and then you can either get help from somebody and roll with advantage, or someone else can roll if they're keeping an eye out as well.
Separately, do we know? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd assist, Callie,
all right.
because I'd be watching from the back as well.
Go for it.
Do your thing, Colin, while I roll, if you want.
I was just gonna ask Tosha if you know anything regarding. Is there a way to say hi, hello, we're here? We're doing this the polite way when going to try to meet the mother of the mountain. I mean, Derek, actually, you've encountered this person before, right?
Yeah, it helps to bring a bunch of orphans.
We don't have those. So, is there anything else you did to get on a good side?
I mean, DM, this wasn't fleshed out too
Yeah,
hard.
I mean, Derek, you made your way through the pass, and you had actually heard from somebody in town about this path, a woman in town. You made your way through here. You actually didn't encounter. You saw some wolves, but you were either able to hide from them or get a position of safety from them. But you didn't encounter most of the things that you saw on the way down here. And even once you made it to this path, you could have just skipped down the path like Little Red Riding Hood. Like, you were fine. It was a pretty easy to approach. You announced yourself as you were told to do, and when you stepped off the path, you found yourself at a big long dinner table having a conversation with a middle-aged woman.
I relay this off onto Elias.
If we know this worked before, we should do exactly that again.
All right, start skipping.
Well, one thing, who is actually going to go meet? Are we all going? Is it just
I mean, I definitely wish to speak with her. Anyone else is welcome to come. I'm not sure how the bargain and all of that works. But we can always inquire, and if she says the information is only for the one who gives something, then people could potentially retreat. But I don't know. DM, did we get any sense of that from our conversation with the Great Oak about any of that? Or
No. There was no discussion of like how you would manage like a group of people going to see the grandmother or anything like that.
Well,
It
we
was
all know
pretty
that we're going
straightforward.
down this path, so let's just
okay?
Well, I figure she knows everyone who's on her mountain, so we may as well
Yeah.
approach together and then allow her to hive us off if her demands we need it.
And
Or wherever we announce ourselves, have the people who are going to go and do that. Whatever we need to do. Sorry.
and Kelly, what was your role?
18.
18. With an 18, you're kind of like looking, and you see, heading into the west section, it heads into thick forest. It's mountainside. It's dry. It's not your kind of forest, but you're a survivalist. You feel like, okay, I don't see anything immediate danger. You hear birds, you see small animals, so there's no indication that like things are hiding in particular, like you saw in the mountain pass you were just in. But as you look the east path, the direction it passes, with an 18, you can just see one of the large trees. This is maybe a couple 100 years old tree, massive, swaying strangely against the wind. And as you kind of stare at it for, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute, it kind of looks like it's shifting among the trees as though it weren't rooted in one place.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good old time to rein back toward Mama, who might know a little bit more about nature than I do, and I will point that out. I
Okay.
reckon that's not right. So, any thoughts?
Can I? Uh, e-
Nature
is
roll.
that a nature roll? Excellent.
Can I assist at all since I pointed it out? I'm not. I mean, I have nature, but I don't.
I'll give you the assist. I'll give you, since you're proficient with nature, you can kind of be like, here's why this is really weird.
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness, because I rolled a 2. So, for the first time, that was helpful. So that's a 50. It's a dirty 20.
With a dirty 20, there are creatures, Mama, that you are familiar with, that are sometimes referred to as shepherds of the trees and keepers of the trees. That they're ancient beings of the land, not unlike other spirits that you know, but most spirits that you know are more rooted in place to a specific rock or a specific tree or what have you. A spirit that's able to move a tree about. Yeah, you've heard these called tree shepherds. They're protectors of the forest. You know that they can be friendly, but if they've had bad experiences with mortals, they can also be very unfriendly. You've never met one. There was a time where it was believed that maybe they had passed on from Lakshina in all of the turmoil of the last 1,000 years. But there are rumors consistently among the druids that some of them still walk this land.
Is this like uh oh what was his name? His daughters that were watching over.
I believe he specified that his daughters. You're talking about Farron.
Farron, thank you. I was like,
Yes.
hurry, no.
Farron's daughters, I believe he specified, were dryads, spirits of the trees, and they can take the form of trees and they can join into trees, but something like this is much larger. Those dryads you would almost think of as like playful spirits and smaller. They can maneuver about. They sometimes mess with mortals or help mortals depending on their mood and the mortals. This creature is something beyond those. This is something that is rather than something that can enhance the ability or enhance the health of a forest. This is the keeper of the forest. It is both its protector and the one who ensures that it continues to grow.
Would they speak plant? Have I heard
You
such rumors? Because I had
there
to
are
speak with
stories
plants.
there are stories that they can speak directly with druids with no additional spell work. There's at least old stories that a druid could simply speak to them.
Well, I share this with Callie. I say it might be a mistake, but I'm gonna go not close, but greet the
This
spirit of
is
the forest.
this is on the east path, the opposite direction that you're going, and this is like miles down the east path. You can just see it because you're kind of like up on a high point looking down into the forest. So you would have to commit to spending like half a day to traveling over to where it is.
Oh, I thought we were going that way because we had
No,
to talk to the grandmother.
no, the grandmother's down the west path.
Well, I just share all of that with Callie. If there's one, there may be more. I've never seen one. I would give my eye teeth to talk to one. But we've got a journey to do. But on our way back, if we come this route again and we head eastward, I may need to lead because of the stories of my folks.
Of course. And now that I sort of know what to look for, I can keep a sharper eye if we encounter any on the west. I guess I'll rein back around, keep going the other way.
All right.
I do kind of keep looking behind us as we go.
All right. And you start making your way along the west path. I do need a separate survival check now, Callie, for actually like taking lead on the walk as opposed to just taking a scope of the forest from.
And do. Here we go. 12 plus 6, 18.
18. Yeah. So you've received the guidance previously that you should absolutely definitely stay on the path as much as possible. And for most of the walk, the path is 5 to 10 feet wide. It's actually rather large space between some trees. May have in a past age actually been a traveled road. But you do see where smaller trees and things have started to crop up where this path was, and sometimes it starts to get down to 1 or 2 feet wide. But you're kind of noticing that, and you're like, hey, like there's a very clear like bit that is definitely path. Let's stay on that and not venture around the other side of these trees. But yeah, it seems like you're able to keep everyone on the path, and even in a couple spots where maybe some rock slide has happened, you can kind of see like, oh, like here's one end of the path, there's one end. The path must have traveled this way around this tree, and even in a difficult spot, you're able to keep everyone presumably on the path as nothing seems to harry you.
Okay.
I do need a D12 from somebody. Ori says no.
No.
I'll go ahead and roll. I haven't done it in a bit.
All right, this is on a 9+. You'll have an encounter.
Oh.
Okay. A 9+. I don't know what that means in this case. I don't know if we want higher or lower. I got a 7.
Yay!
Is that good?
Yeah, so as you're walking through, every once in a while, you hear what sounds like a young human or elven woman laughing, just off to one side of the path or the other. Not often. In fact, the first time you hear it, it's kind of one of those like, what was that? Maybe I didn't actually hear anything, and then like 30 minutes later you hear it again and you're like, oh no, there's some sound that sounds like a human or a woman or a elven woman just giggling off in the distance as you pass through. On either side of the path. It happens multiple times. But uneventfully, you make it about a day's travel to presumably where you would call to the grandmother of the mountain. And Callie, you notice as you travel this, there are no stop-offs on the side of the path, no small paved areas or cleared areas where you would see a fire built or kept. You, at one point, I'd say with your 18, do notice where someone appears to have set up a fire and then it was abandoned before it was ever lit. So you do know, as you think about where you're going to rest for the evening, it's probably going to be directly on the path.
Okay. Yep. When they said stay on the path, amen it.
Yeah.
Do our best to get a decent spot, or at least we can perhaps see through trees at what might be coming, if anything.
All right.
I don't know if it's better to be sheltered because, like, we can't see them, but they can't see us. But then again, this is their turf, so I'd rather maybe have a chance of seeing what's going.
Are we at the spot where we need to announce?
You've traveled westward for a day. That's you. That's the best description you have.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, do we want to rest for the night and then make the invocation in the morning, or do we want to move forward with this now?
I don't know.
Tosha, give me an intelligence check. DC 10.
Sure. Seven. I've been rolling like trash for the past like 5 times I've played D&D, so if anyone has tips for getting right with the dice deities, please let me know, because clearly I've done something to offend them.
Drop
Can
him
you
in
go
a
over
kiln.
to Nate's desk and steal his dice because he rolls crits on us all the time, and then give him yours? That'd be good for us.
Cool. Good call.
The murder die. Don't shake it at me. I know what it is.
There was a gaming store in my area that did some sort of like mass exorcism of dice. So you could bring in your dice and you would trade them out for clean dice effectively.
Amazing.
It was really funny. Yeah, it was a cool idea. So
I mean, the advantage now is we are currently like we're at the end of a travel day, but we are fresh and healthy.
mhm.
Whereas if we go through the night and get attacked by something, that may not be the case.
Yeah,
But I don't know if these things are best done in the day. I don't know Derek when he did it either.
Yeah, I'm inclined to do this now myself. I just wanted to check with you all.
You do know that the invocation is a request to be admitted to dinner with the grandmother of the mountain. Now, how important time of day is to dinner to a being like this is a question, but you do know that's the invocation.
All right.
If we did it at the beginning of the day, we'd have to essentially wait almost probably all day. Anyway.
No time like the present, then I suppose.
All right. Is there anything anyone, in case I end up speaking with her alone, is there anything that anyone would like me to ask for or about? On my list are 1, to learn what Svafa Leitonen asked and the information that she gave to her. I was going to say that we have learned that at least one of the old gods is coming back, to see if she knew anything about how they were locked away in the first place, or anything more about that we could learn. I was going to ask, since we also learned from the Great Oak that I forget, I have her name in my notes somewhere, but the being that has been assailing us on the pass that we fought before is her sister, and it is bad to thrice deny such a spirit.
Yeah.
And so I was going to ask if she knew of any way for us to get safe passage through her sister's area without giving her what she wants.
If you're looking
and-
for that, rather than just safe passage, it might be best if there's like a way to just get interest away from you. But I don't know how this person works. Like, you'll hear stories about like the genie where you didn't phrase your request right and they do something weird that you weren't expecting. So I think like if it's something like we don't want to know what Svafa Leitonen asked, we want to know what Svafa Leitonen found out, like that kind of thing. We don't want to come in and be like, what was the question that was asked? This was the question. It's like, okay, and the answer, that's a separate charge. You don't want to try to go for that. But
I don't know if you want to ask this or not, but before we left that library getting our information, one of the the folks there talked to us about seeing if we could remove the darkness from Elena.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how to phrase that, and I'm going to ask my priestess friend about it. But if y'all get along and start chatting, after whatever sacrifice you make, uh,
Depending on how you wanted to address it, because I mean, you said you don't know exactly what happened, but this was as a result of you using your magic with Olena, and something happened. You were knocked out when you came to Olena, couldn't see anymore. Maybe the solution would be to ask about like how you could undo something that you had done with your magic, or how to control your magic better. Something along those lines, just because we know that there's been a lot of unintended side effects sometimes when you use your powers. And not to say that they're bad, but clearly you being possessed by the grandmother of the mountains and having her lure wyverns at us as a welcome mat. I don't know what that vibe is, but it's a very distinct one. So
Wait, I was possessed by the grandmother of the mountains?
wasn't that what happened? You went, and then there was
Yeah,
the
you
kind of
were
cackling voice.
sleeping, and then you were lifted in the air, seeming of your own not accord, and your eyes were glowing, and a different voice came out of your mouth, and then you screamed quite a loud scream, which drew those wyverns to our location, and then you dropped to the ground, and it was all very scary.
That does raise an interesting question, because you've said that that's happened before. Everybody else saw it happen with the Asher at the funeral. We've all now seen it happen with the Grandmother Mountains. Maybe it's not an Asher thing. Maybe you're just like a conduit or a medium or whatever the equivalent would be.
Maybe you're the problem.
Well, no, I mean, like, if you're just open and anything can use the channel, basically, then
Yeah, that is strange.
it would explain why the powers are different.
Yeah, Nate, has this happened to me previously? Because from my memory, I I had thought that most of the times I'd been taken over had been like an Asher related influence. It seemed, at least from the description I got from people after the fact. So is that accurate, or are there times when the description didn't seem to fit the Asher?
Give me an Arcana check. Failing a better better roll for this. Give me an Arcana check.
I also have a thought as a non magic user. I don't know if this will help.
13.
You need some new fucking dice. So anyway, even with the 13, like thinking on it, because you've been told, at least recently by this party, exactly what you've said on several occasions. And one of those times was talking about how the Calmente will come back and will burn everything, turn the sands to glass, turn the ocean, or boil the oceans, etc., and so on. None of that sounds very Asher-like, especially given what you think you've learned about some of the origins. And at least one of those times, Derek mentioned that it sounded very much like that Frost Woman voice that you had heard in the Mountain Pass. So as this is brought up, you're kind of thinking about it, and while it's always been an assumption that you're specifically a conduit for the Asher, now that you've been traveling more and engaging more greater beings, whether intentionally or not, it does occur to you that it doesn't always feel like it always feels the same to you. You've gone empty and it's gone. Like your knowledge of it, memory of it is gone. But these other things that are happening sound different from what you, one, would expect from the Asher, and two, have seen in the past or heard repeated to you in the past.
And this is recent, right? This is like as of the time that I've been around or had like some kind of interaction with these beings that this has started happening, but this is new. This isn't something from like when I was just staying in Bastion that I recall. Is that accurate to say?
With a 13, you can't specifically think of any time in Bastion that you would attribute to not the Asher.
As sort of an outsider, is it possible that the mode in which you go blank is something the Asher allows you to do, but the witch is causing it to trigger? Is using your power, your connection to turn this on and then working her will through you, but it's like two separate, like she's taking the bridle, so to speak, and unleashing your voice, its voice. I
Yeah.
I don't I don't know.
I mean, it has been the great mystery of my life to figure this out, and I still know very little about how this connection works and what this all means. Um, but I mean, that does leave, I think, some more questions of, how is it that you and your sister are able to speak through me? Um, it could be that the Asher is connected to these ancient ones in some way. Um, I don't know.
Are you sure that you want to do this?
I mean, I don't want to do it, but
I mean, I could go talk to the shepherd of the forest and see if that path is there.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to do this, but I don't know who else to speak to find this information out. It seems like only Svatha and her knows what they talked about related to the ascension. I mean, obviously there are more than one of the ancients, but it's very dangerous to speak to all of them, so I would imagine it would be a similar situation no matter which one we went to, and we also don't know where many of them, at least I don't know where many of them are. Um, I did ask you all about when we wanted to do this, because I'm fine with doing it, either now or on the way back. But I feel like this is information that I would be happy to find it another way, but I don't really know another way to find it that we'll be able to accomplish before the ascension.
We're here now. We might as well do it.
Yeah, and it might make it so the journey back is less difficult if she gives us permission to pass, right?
Yeah, I can certainly ask for safe travel as well through this area. Anything else that anyone would like me to ask about?
How long would you say your legs are?
Just to put your mind at ease, Derek, I'm not thinking of offering my legs.
Oh,
Yeah, ease.
takes his
That
rope
was
with little markings on it every inch or so and just starts measuring up his own leg. This would be way easier.
Any other things that she might? I see. I don't want your bill to be too big to pay.
yeah,
So
no. Let's keep that a small bill.
mm,
You're gonna have to pay more than you're willing anyway. Just like any medical care, except for Elias here, the kit.
mm,
That does remind me, I will pick up, not when we're in this forest, but when we're in a different forest, I will find more like bits and pieces, but I'm not touching anything in this one.
No
Nothing.
worries. I've still got a decent amount left.
Yeah, I was going to point that out. As if you're staying strictly on the path, you're still not collecting anything up, just like when you were in the mountain pass.
hard no. Sorry, no.
All good. That's when we stocked up on the way to Bastion.
No one wants to fuck with a hag for some reason.
Yeah, oddly enough.
Well, I've been possessed. No thanks.
I've already fucked with the hag.
All right, I will step off the path and do the invocation in the manner that it was taught to me.
Do you recall it?
Invocation.
Did you ask something, Nate?
Yeah, do you recall the invocation? Tosha does. Do you, the player, recall the invocation?
No, I do not have a note of it. I just have that, like, we have it, which is unhelpful.
You approach the north edge of the path from where you're at. You look out into the forest, and Tosha calls out 3 times. Grandmother of the forest, I seek an audience. Invite me to your dinner table, and calls out 3 times and takes 1 step off the forest path to the north. Tosha, as you take that step, you actually lose your balance as it feels like something hits you behind the knee. The rest of the party, you see Tosha go to take the step, but very similarly, whether you're sitting down measuring out your leg with a rope, or if you are otherwise standing, looking around, or just in quiet anticipation of what is about to happen with Tosha stepping off the side, you all feel pressure on the back of your leg so hard that you fall. And you fall, and you kind of blink and look up, and you are sitting at a grand, maybe 30-foot long dinner table. You see all the rest of your party ravenously eating off of the plates in front of them. There's different kinds of smoked and roasted and cooked beasts. There are different kinds of berries and fruits, salads. This looks like a feast fit for a dozen kings, much less a single king. And each of you, where you sit, look around, and you see the rest of your party just ravenously eating, and you don't... you kind of nudge the person next to you who's like 5 foot down, and you're like, hey, and they just do not respond to you. You look around, and at the head of the table, you can see someone that, Derek, you've seen this person before. You've been at this table before. It's great. Food's good. A woman, maybe in her human, maybe in her mid-40s, dark hair, a bit wafy build, kind of looking down the table 15 or so feet from you. You're surrounded by trees. You appear to be in some sort of clearing, and behind her is the mountain itself, but there's a huge boulder that kind of sticks out and makes almost like a cathedral peak behind her, about 30 feet into the air. And this woman in her, sort of middle-aged view looks at you. Why, hello. Welcome to dinner.
Thank you for inviting us to this dinner.
Oh, always happy to have guests. Always happy to have guests. So, my lovely petitioner, and as she says this, those of you with a really high perception, that being Callie and Mama, it almost sounds like she's speaking in chorus. Like you can hear 4 or 5 different versions of her, just slightly out of tune, just slightly out of time. But everyone else, it sounds like they're just talking to you.
Does she refer to all of us as petitioners then, or?
She is looking directly at you, Derek, and calls you a petitioner. And she kind of smiles to you, and after stating that, says, "Welcome back, little one."
Aye.
So Tosha, let's go with you first.
I have a few questions that I hoped you might be able to answer, and I understand that I must, exchange something for these questions as well. I have something in mind to offer you, but I thought I would ask you first if there's anything you would ask of me.
Child, I know your mind, and I assure you, I will ask only what is fair. Um, in fact, your goals are not entirely against my own. I would ask that you only focus more deeply on what you want and what you need. Can you agree to such?
Yes.
Good. Speak your questions. And as you turn and look at her, you actually feel, Tosha, if you really focus on it, you can like turn your head and look around, but you feel almost compelled to just sort of keep her at the center of your vision.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm like fighting that at all at this point, or trying to focus on anything else. I know that Svafa Leitonen came to you at one time. I would like to know what information you shared with her.
The Leitonen girl. Oh. It seems like yesterday. Yes. You would like to know what she learned?
Quick clarifying question. Do we all hear this?
You don't. We'll go through what you hear in a moment.
Gotcha. Okay, because we all heard the first one. I was double checking.
Yep. And at this point, like, for those of you who can hear it, there's like just on the wind, almost like a chorus of different conversations. You can't quite make them out, but you can just hear that there's like some other voice on the wind that's going in different directions. The Latonan girl, and as she starts talking, Tosha, you kind of just almost like your focus on her becomes extra sharp to the point that it's almost like you've hit a focus on a really nice camera, and so like you're in portrait mode, and it's like just her, and everything else is just kind of falling away. Latonan girl, she wanted to know if the Asher was our savior, if the Asher was truly that which kept this land. And it is a fair question for those that carry the weight of a future bride. She also, foolish child, asked how one could be assured to become the bride. To ensure that even a generation, or possibly two, down the road, a Latonan could sit upon the chair of the bride in Bastion. And I told her everything that she needed to know. I told her that no, the Asher is no savior. Surely a help to some, but as you look about this world and think deeply on what you know to be true, the Asher is no savior. But you knew that, High Priest. And so I do not see why you should concern yourself so. And when it comes to how this Latonan girl would see to it that she could sit upon the throne and that her progeny could as well, I told her she need only poison one of her rivals, and all would fall into place. I gave her the poison. I told her where her rival would take it from. Sad things, sad things. It turns out more than one person might need medical aid after training. Sad indeed, when you lose family to your own greed.
Thank you. The next question I wanted to ask you was what your relationship is to the Asher. I have noticed lately that maybe yourself, maybe one of your sisters seems to be able to speak through me. I've understand myself to be a conduit of the Asher for some time, but my understanding is limited.
And as you ask this question again, even the table and everything around you, the chair that you're sitting on, seems to fall away, and you almost feel like you're floating in space as you're kind of focused on getting these answers. And she looks back to you. My relationship to the Asher. Well, I hate them, as do all creatures that come from this realm. All creatures who were here before the realms were connected. Those that you would call the old gods, the true rulers of this land before Elion connected our world to others. I hate them. But even so, such has been done and cannot be so easily undone. I do not bother myself with the Asher. I simply hate that which they have done. You, as a conduit, well, it's an amazing thing. A conduit is simply a tool. You may be a tool of the Asher, but just so any other craftsman might pick up the tool and use it as such if it were, say, left unattended, available. You know that you touch chaos, pure in some way, when you leave yourself open to that. And she just smiles at you. Creatures of chaos, we're quite able and more than willing to take advantage.
You spoke of the old gods. Um, we have learned recently that at least one of them may be returning. Do you have knowledge of how they may be locked away again?
They have been locked away times beyond counting, for eons beyond measure. Sure, Elion and this walker of the worlds who first betrothed themselves to this false god. Yes, they opened what some referred to as the doors of death, but simply doors to elsewhere. Um, in times past, by your reckoning, thousands of years, they were put to sleep, sometimes through actions of the mortals, sometimes through actions of each other. But there have been cycles of darkness like we've had this last 1,000 years, and cycles of light where those that you would call the old god roam the skies, tending to the land and keeping to the beasts of the world. Do not assume that they were ever gone, simply resting. If you wish to find a new way to put them to rest, I'm afraid I am bound to not help you in this. Just as you have no interest in harming those who perhaps you are not entirely close to, but that you feel some kinship with from coming to harm. A sister, perhaps. I, similarly, am no friend or ally of the Calmente, of Valis Gadan, of Chris Veden. Perhaps the elves will find a friend again there, now that he has risen. But who knows? But they are kin, and I will not help you harm them.
Uh, has my mother or the other crests come to speak with you before?
In this moment, as you ask this question, the only thing that you see is this woman. And even then, she fades slightly, and the stone arch behind her kind of has a faint glow to it in a way that it hadn't had previously. Those are 2 questions, child, but I will answer them only in fairness. Yes, your mother came to me. Your mother sought to steal from me. She failed. And she got everything that she wanted. Further, longer ago, though perhaps a week, perhaps a century, such things are hard to recall these days. Another of your line came to me. A butcher. One who would have absolute power. She came. She asked for more than she could handle. I gave what I could. And now you are here, so presumably she did her best with it.
Thank you. That is all that I ask as far as information goes. There are 2 boons that I would ask for myself and my companions. One being safe passage through your mountains here, as we travel. We understand staying to the path and respecting everything in that way, but I know there are many dangers that may still come upon us. I have also had some encounters with one I understand is your sister. The of the frost. And she has accosted me twice, and I've refused her twice. I've been told it would be unwise to do so a 3rd time, but I would seek a way to deal with her or pass through that area without having to give her what she wants from me.
For your safe passage that you would so barter. This is a large ask, for I have many creatures who live here that are of their own minds and would so act. I can give you protection, but that will come at an additional cost to all of this information you seek. Would you give a piece of your magic forever to ensure your safe passage for as long as you have gifted that magic through my forest?
No, I'm afraid that is a cost I cannot pay.
Very well. Then, I shall not harm you as you travel my forest, but those who live here will do as they shall. As for Sister Icyheart, you concern yourself with that one. You have met both of my sisters, actually. One you attempted to lay to rest, and when she rises, I will not stand in her way should she decide that she wishes to exact vengeance. Putrid Eustace has her own mind, just as Sister Icy Heart. And just as I and just as Sister Icy Heart, Putrid Eustace is more than her simple corporeal form. Sister Icy Heart, well, she seeks something from you that is no longer viable. And you need not worry denying her that a third time. And as she says this, and you're kind of focused in on her, like you kind of feel the compulsion to like stare into her direction kind of reduce, and you feel the chair around you, and you turn, and you realize as you turn, like she's at the very center of your vision, and you turn, and that tiny little bit at the center of your vision is the only thing you can see. As you look about this table, you have to really focus to see anything specific, and you have no peripheral vision whatsoever. Callie,
Don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. Yes.
you're at a table and you've been greeted by the grandmother of the mountain. What do you do?
Ma'am, I'm gonna take off like my hat. Like I'm at a table and I didn't expect to be here. Thank you for accepting my friend's invocation. Um I see you have quite the spread here. But my mother always told me that it is rude to go to someone's house and not offer something. So she'll take out this like food, like we've been catching stuff and tanning it, and yeah. So she's been prepping it the way she would back home. So she brings out like a piece of like treated meat and like will like offer it. Be like, I know you don't need it, but I feel like I should add.
As you offer it, there's just kind of a faint glow as you kind of like stick your hand out with it, and it just lifts into the air and heads towards the head of the table. What a kind guest. You are so well raised.
Manners maketh elves.
You are more than welcome to partake. I am likewise a great host, and I would not ask anything of you for you to partake of this meal. Um, but what would you ask of the grandmother of the mountain? Surely there is something for this lost elf seeking to return her people to some semblance of stability and seeking to stop what you see as destruction.
Well, I would, but I feel like not everything that was old is bad. I feel like people trying to harness some of these old gods for their own doing are the ones making it perhaps corrupted. And sort of aiming the bow in the direction of harm as opposed to gathering harvest. But my one of my greatest curiosities, other than how to regain harmony, which is a much bigger problem in question, I suppose would be if someone's mind has been made like a jarred door, how would one fortify the door, or can one ever?
Oh, how indeed. I could offer such protection. It is certainly not beyond the ken of someone like myself to give you reinforcements and perhaps stop those that you don't wish from passing through. Um, but I know not what you would offer for such a thing.
Well, now that is mighty tempting, and I sure do appreciate it. But again, as I was raised, I would rather learn a skill than be given it. So if I cannot do it on my own, ilk, I guess I cannot do it. But if you were in the given mood, I would ask that you give to my friend Mama the understanding to read the book to find how to use the tea leaves to help against the fade. And for that, I would exchange knowledge that I have that perhaps you may wonder about or may know, but I think you might find it interesting if you don't.
I am always here to exchange knowledge. The mountain itself contains the knowledge of ages. So please, feel free.
All right. And I'm gonna clutch the like little necklace where I keep Val. Be like, well, I know that there are many beasts, gods, creatures that are coming back, and one of them, several of them, are what we would have called dragon or dragonkin. None have been seen for a very long time. But one day I woke up and he was here, and I will summon Val out to sit beside me. I'll give him like an earthy tone because I feel like she's of the mountain. Is she like she's not icy heart? So I'm gonna give him like earth. He's like so he'll look
Yeah,
like more
yeah.
leafy and pretty. Yeah.
I assume, like, you pick acid, which is kind of associated with earth, and he's kind of got this leafy, like, yeah, motif. Perfect.
Um,
The child unborn returns. The spirit of destruction.
no, he's not destruction. He's so good. Like kind of put to my nose to his nose.
And that is what you would offer is this knowledge for your friend.
Yeah, I've been very careful not to show Val to people because they would either seek to hurt him or use him. Um, and I don't know what knowledge in the world. It's like someone you giving a sword to someone who does not know how to use it. They will injure themselves as likely as someone else. So I've been very careful with this knowledge,
Of
but I will
course.
share it with you
And
if you
I
would but help.
happily take it, and I will help. And she puts her hand out, and as she puts her hand out towards you, and you see just the stream of silver go from your head towards her hand. And she grasps it
Mm.
and tugs. And it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
You kind of feel this tugging from behind your eyes rip out. And from now on,
Mm.
you will automatically fail any check to understand anything about a dragon or dragonkin.
All right. I'll put that in my notes. Well, damn.
How's that feel, Dragon Ranger?
It's not great. What's that? I don't know. Dog?
What Ranger?
All right.
Skydog Ranger.
And on that note, we're actually going to jump to break because I really have to pee. So, all right. See you all in 10-ish minutes. We're going to take a quick break. We'll jump back into everything that's going on with the Grandmother of the Mountain. See what else you all have to trade. Talk to you in 10. And we're back. Callie, I know we cut that kind of. God damn it. Callie, I know we cut that kind of abruptly. Was there anything else that you wanted to go over while you were there? Anything else you'd like to spend?
Anything else I'd like to spend? Well, I gave up more than I intended on that one. Maybe she would give this to me for free because we shared and she likes me. Does the Temple of the Moon know how to perform the ritual to unlock the sword? And I'll take out the elfin blade.
She smiles at you. What would you give to know?
A hearty hug.
Accepted. And as she says that,
no.
your chair just like disappears, and you find yourself facing the stone behind the woman.
Oh. Well, I mean, it's not the weirdest thing I've ever done, so I'll try hugging the stone.
You reach your arms around the stone and you give like just as best as you can, because it's essentially a flat face that you're facing. It's like 15 feet wide. And you just sort of like splat up against it, trying to hug it. And you feel pressure against your back. At first, lightly, but then it becomes really hard to breathe. And you actually start to become concerned that you're being crushed into the stone. And then after a moment, it just stops, and you're sitting back in your seat. And you hear, yes, they do.
Okay, cool. I put my head down on the table. Thank you. That's really all I could care to want at the moment. But you are strong, Grandma.
As you look up, the plate in front of you has a delicacy of the meandering camp, fried bits of alligator over some sort of local root plant, some sort of yam, presented for you. And if you look at it, it actually looks like something that your mother and your mother's mother used to make at home.
Gators and taters, yay! And just like eat them.
It literally tastes like your grandmother made it.
Oh, there's like a rolling tear. I haven't had this in forever because she also forgot how to make it because of the fade. But that's different. No. Thank you. Thank you.
Alar, Elias. She's looking directly at you and just. And you, young Latonin. I feel so blessed to speak with two Latonin in such a short time. What do you have for me? What do you wish of me?
In real life, I have mead, but I have spent all my mead on the party, so I will instead reach into my bag, and I have literally a couple of bottles of alcohol that we got back in the town whose name I've already forgotten.
Kashir.
Thank you. That I had planned to use as explosives, basically, or Molotov cocktails. I will take whatever's nicer and pull that out. And I am. I was taught that it is impolite to show up without a gift, and I will just present whatever that is. I wish that I could, and that's not an actionable, enactable wish for the record, but I wish that I had some of the family's product to provide. Whatever and however my grandmother feels about your encounter, I have a feeling that it was particularly formative for the rest of her life.
I do not disagree, child. And thank you. And you see there's a faint golden glow under the bottom of the bottle as it moves up towards the head of the table where you see the middle-aged woman sitting.
If I'm ever passing back this way, and I have no idea if I will live that long, I will try to bring something from the life she made.
Is there something that you would like from me?
I don't know.
You'd be surprised what I could provide.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure that were the people that I work for to find out how effective you probably are, there would be a number of folks sent to ask very specific questions.
Oh, I assure you, the people that you work for, some of them know I'm here.
I'm sure. I can only hope that they don't send too many people to bother you constantly. I can see how that would be very helpful to some. Would it be possible to pay with an action?
That certainly depends on the action.
Is there anything that you need done? And in so doing, I would be able to ask something.
You may ask something, and I will tell you what it would take to get the answer.
And okay. There are a number of old gods that are coming back, at least into understandable nomenclature. The names are reappearing. And this could be good or this could be bad. What would I need to do for you to tell me what we need to do to make this cause the least amount of damage to the people that are already here?
And she smiles at you. The people who are already here are a mistake of history. And I don't know of anything that could stop the damage that comes.
Cool. Okay. Well, any interest in small talk? Is there something you'd like to talk about? I don't know what you're into. Being the grandmother of the mountains, that sounds cool.
Some of my favorite things are caves. I miss long ago my mountains used to be abutting a great lake, so deep waters. The wilds in general are some of my favorite things. So any of that you might wish to speak of, share in stories, talk about the joys. And she kind of like leans in towards you. And despite being 15 feet from you, it feels like she's leaning in your face as she leans slightly forward and just, I would love to talk about any of the joys of the nature that I reside in and its great benefits over that which others call the civilized world.
I am going to be honest. The Sky Gators are terrifying, but pretty cool. We ran into a couple of them when you did your thing with Tosha, and I'm gonna be honest, they were very impressive. Very dangerous, actually. It was like really scary, but in like a work went into this kind of way.
Rosalind is a dear friend. I'm very
The
happy that
wyvern?
Yes, there's one. It's such an unbecoming name. I think Hellfire Wyvern. She
Hmm.
was out with her child. Yes.
I'm glad that that ended as non-lethally as it could have.
Certainly, things would look much worse for you if you had killed one of my best friends before coming here.
I'll keep that in mind on the way back. That's really, really good to not do.
I agree.
Yeah. Um, any other major friends we should, be incredibly polite to in order to, just in just a general way that we should know about.
There is a great oak who wanders the land and ensures the safety of the things that need be insured. I would hope that you would
Oh,
be
no.
kind to them.
Um, we ran into a very interesting person who had a lot of daughters who I think were trees. So
You're going to
those
have
are
to be
cool.
more specific.
I can't. I could say a name, I guess, but I don't know what he was other than definitely not a normal dude. He was invisible most of the time. If that helps.
Still got to narrow that down some.
Cool. Farron?
The Hermit.
Yes.
An acquaintance, you might say. A child, as my
Hmm.
kind goes, but an acquaintance.
I get the feeling a lot of things associated with you would be considered, like, compared to you, would be children.
Yes.
Um,
And you know, I'm sure in your own line of work, not everything is as it seems. And you might expect such from me.
I I think at the end of the day, if we could default to it, the majority of our group would prefer to help rather than harm. And I know that if
Cough.
yeah, actually, that's in reference to you. If that was possible, I think we would have liked to have been able to help the manticores that had been infested by bogflies, rather than the way that that ended up turning out. I think there wasn't much we could do. But the reason why I bring that up is between between Hazel and myself and Derek, we're not unable to heal. If there's anything that we could help with on our way through here that we could, I think we would largely be willing to. So if there's something you would like us to help with, on the off chance that that's something that we can do, I think we'd be willing.
Oh. So you are offering help with no request? You would do so?
I'm not a mage, but I have some medical training. If there's something that I can heal, I will do it. And I think if something walking around doesn't have a leg, Derek will be very happy to build a robot one for it. And I think if there's an arrogant noble around here, I doubt it, but if there is, Mama will probably be pretty happy to punch it in the face. So, on the off chance any of those are things that you have, I'd be happy to fix something that's in pain. Derek would be happy to give it a leg, and Mama would be happy to punch it if it's an asshole.
Be kind to the creatures that you pass on your way out. That is all I ask.
I can promise to do my very best.
All right. Mama, You find yourself, again, your friends sitting around you, not responding to you, eating ravenously from plates in front of them. And simply a woman at the end of the table looking at you, framed by a great stone flat arch behind her.
I'm afraid I'm the kind of mama who tells her kids to never come to someone's dinner empty handed. But I didn't realize I was being invited. So I hope you'll forgive. I have a beverage I would love to share, but I must warn you that it's an acquired taste. But I would be honored to share. As a druid of the mountain, it would honor me greatly to share a drink with you.
So please, take a drink and offer forward. I will return.
So, of course, I do. And I have my flask, and I assume that the flask is going to float.
Yep, the flask floats, and it floats past the woman at the head of the table, and it floats up to the top of that stone behind the woman, and it inverts slightly, and dribbles just run down the front of the stone until it just sort of like stops dripping naturally. And then the flask comes back down towards you. Indeed, an acquired taste. Delicious. And yes, you have taught your children well. And as you look down, there's a bowl of soup in front of you. It's a clear soup. There are some vegetables in it. But you can actually see a reflection, first of yourself, but then it turns to a almost lizard-like face. Small eyelashed scales coming up the sides. Black-colored scales kind of looking up. Well, my mama always taught me not to come to a dinner without bringing something with me, so I smoked this haunch of meat yesterday. I think this'll do. And just sort of like kind of fades out back to soup.
What a gift you gave an old woman at a table.
What a gift
I'm
that
so
young
proud of
child
her.
gave to me.
Oh, Olive. I know she's out making her way. I'm so proud of her. I wasn't much of a mama, but I did my best.
As we all do. Is there something that you would ask of the grandmother of the mountain?
I'm old and have many questions.
I
But
can
the
tell you from
greatest,
experience that that will never change.
but one of the things that in the blink of my existence I've learned is the joy of company. And it is not often that a druid of the mountain gets to dine with the grandmother of the mountain. And really, that's what I ask.
Well, you would simply dine with me.
I mean, my friends aren't going to be much use in conversation in the way that they're behaving. Good gracious. I've never seen the like. Even Callie. She's usually better than that.
Well, I'm happy to join you. And you can see the stone behind the woman shudders slightly. And stepping out from the stone is a haggard looking form. Long, spindly limbs, but a barrel like stomach and chest. Covered in rags, wearing an old hat that kind of comes up to almost a point and then curls to the back. Um, and the face is almost looks carved from stone. Just kind of sharp features, mostly flat, and then like eyes almost scraped into a rock, mouth scraped into a rock, and the mouth slit sort of opens, and you can just see rolling gravel inside of it, and just kind of steps forward. The size of the stone, so roughly 30 feet tall, 15 feet across, approaches the table and looks down. That female form sitting at the head of the table, the middle-aged woman, reaches down, picks her up, and tosses her into the mouth. And you can see blood and bits kind of flowing out the side as it gets just rumbled around inside the gravel. Looks over to Alar, who's the closest on that side, and picks up Alar's form and tosses him into the gravel, again rolling around inside and just turning to mush and blood. It is good to have a proper dinner company again. Thank you, the one they call Mama. And picks up again Callie across the table from Alar and tosses her into this like dryer, essentially, with a bunch of gravel in it that is her maw. One of your companions offered much for this. Take out the book. You know which one.
I do. I want to talk to those kids. Lord. She gets out the book.
And you look down at it. And the book itself, it's strange. It's like the words don't change, but it's almost like learning a foreign language. Like the words don't change, but as you look at it, it just makes sense in a different way than it did before. And as you flip through these recipes, you're kind of saying that, oh, wait, anytime I see this thing, it's actually referring to that. Anytime I see this, I can actually ignore like the next 3 pages. And you're going through it, and you realize that you have the recipe to make the tea. As you look through it, it immediately, suddenly, and for the first time, entirely makes sense. And you can, with your measly 5 leaves, you could either create 5 doses of a light tea that might stave off something worsening with the fade. And you see this was called the common tea. The common silver vine tea, and it staves off the fade. But with the 5 leaves that you had, if you were to use all of them, you could create a silver vine potion, and it would turn someone to a memory tree, a tree that, if you made common tea, someone could speak with. You see in the back, there's cultivation information about the leaves, about the vine. You need either some sort of seeds or a fresh clipping of a non-dried plant. But if there were a memory tree, you could plant this or put a clipping upon the tree and it would flourish. It would take a few years, but such a thing could happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, friend.
I will.
And they kind of, as you sit and kind of like lightly sup, they walk about the table, picking up your friends and tossing them into their maw.
Which is like really hard for me to watch, but
Yep.
also with my perception of hearing those whispers.
You hear there's some other conversations. You do pick out your friends' voices, and they're not screaming. And even the ones that they're picking up, they don't scream. They don't make any other noise besides, like, as they're picked up, they're literally reaching and trying to grab the food off the table.
It has been a blessing to dine with you.
I assure you, it always is. It is also always a curse. Such is the way of things.
I am a druid of the mountains, and I know both the kindness and the cruelty of the nature. It is both giving and taking. That's the circle of it all, even as young as I am.
Derek, you find yourself at a familiar dinner table. You've been here before. Food's pretty good, actually, gotta be honest. There's some, like, really delicious sausages. The cat is to die for. As you're kind of, like, looking through, picking fur off of one of the fried bits, just like Mom used to make. You see,
Hold on, if he sees Elias like stuffing his face and whatnot, that's a contest. It's like great to see. It's like the turkey leg, like the mashed potatoes on the plate with some cat sprinkle on top, with the plate in his mouth, just going down like motherfuckers.
As you're continuing, the grandmother of the mountain looks at you. Little one, are you fine with your dinner? We have done our deal together, and you have paid your price just recently, I believe. So, unless you have more to ask of me.
Just all over the table. Yeah, no, it all worked out great. Yeah, I got a new job. Pays a little bit worse, but I don't have an office anymore, and my shoes have got holes in them. No, hang on, it's gotten worse actually. Hang on, let me. Yeah, no, I can't really think. Do you make like synthetic eyes? Like if you're missing your eyes and they come out or something like that, or you get blinded, can you make like ones you just pop back in? Well, take out and put somewhere else.
I can. Is that some knowledge that you would like?
Oh, I can think of two people that would really like it actually. Takes like a turkey leg out of Elias's hand, kind of eats that one as well. Eat this shit.
And what would you give for such knowledge?
You want one of my eyes? I've also got, pulls out the jar, this guy. So many eyes.
She looks at it. Very pleasant. I could take one of your eyes for such knowledge, although I could provide you the knowledge to create your own in a more complete way. That might cost more than a single eye.
But you want them both?
I'm not opposed.
Well, then how would I see? To do like all the, making the fake ones? That'd be silly.
Sounds like something for you to solve. You are a problem solver, if nothing else.
Rapidly going through his bloody inventory, some weird shit in here.
There are things that you would need to know about in order to craft that. Things like essence of life.
I got that already. That's where we're going.
Fire of life.
Oh wait, no, I've got that one. I don't have the essence of life. That's just blood. Is that just blood? Did I guess that right?
You know that essence of life can be... Blood can be essence of life, but you're not 100% sure, like, beyond that real basics.
The
like
geezer
making
said that
fire...
it had to come from a live person, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's fine. I fed orphans to the girl. Like, it's just
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna need at least one eye to see what I'm doing when I'm making eyes that, help the blind see, as it were. So can I offer you a charge off this guy? And I'll pull off one of the beads of the necklace of prayer beads.
It is a fine necklace. I would certainly take the necklace.
Well, the problem is there's a geezer on this one who, like, I've got to do work for, and I'm not entirely sure how to get a hold of him without using that one bead. So can I have one of the beads back?
You would keep simply the ability to call your ally and give up the rest?
For the ability to make fake eyes, yes, that work, right? The fake eyes work.
Yes, of course.
Can I make them better than regular eyes? Can they, like, see in the dark or zoom in? Put little
Oh,
funny hats on people?
the hats seem unrelated to the eyes, but the ability to make the eye better, that depends entirely on you and
Yeah, no, that
your
sounds good.
capabilities.
Yeah, no, that seems fair. I think I've got this brilliant idea, right? Slide a piece of glass over the iris, right? Puts tiny dog noses on whoever you're looking at. Hysterical, right? Boring conversation. They're talking about fucking gods, getting married, whatever the fuck, right? You can't stand. It's the 8th time today you've had this conversation about, going off and on and on about it. Now they got a dog nose.
There was
You're right in there.
There was once a noble who came to see me. He was rude, and I did give him the face of a dog. It was very funny.
See? That's what I'm telling you.
I will accept your trade.
So 5 of 6 charges, the necklace of prayer beads, and 1 eye for the ability to make fancy-looking eyes. That will, presumably, as my skill gets better, also get better in terms of their construction.
Yes. And so
Excellent.
you are able, you just have the knowledge, as though a schematic that you've memorized to craft eyes. You know that you need a fine gem, quartz or ruby or diamond, and depending on the gem, you could imbue it with different magical properties to allow it to see the truth, see invisible, see a distance.
God, I'm going to be slotting out eyes for the circumstance. Where would I put that one?
You know that it takes very fine craftsmanship and a fine gem cutter to create such things. But yeah, it would probably cost for a single eye around 1,000 gold for a basic eye. But you have the knowledge to do so, and you know how to craft from fresh blood and oil, fresh blood and some oil to create fire of life.
Any chance that you'll throw in 2 days of hemorrhoids for Elias just as, like, sprinkle on top? He really wants them.
She smiles at you, and you and your people are some of my favorite children of the mountains. Yes, done. Your friend will enjoy his issues for, probably the next month. I overshot. I apologize.
So he's going to be looking for some oil and cream then. Money, money, money. All right, go on then. Pop it out. Left or right? Left or right? Let's go left. Look.
Yeah, you say, let's go left. And you kind of like open your eye or like pull your eye, and your eye literally pops out of your face, lands on the table, and the like nerve ending that kind of pulls back that one, this was extremely painful as it
Yeah, so
like
he's screaming.
popped
right,
out. Right. The nerve ending grows little legs, and the eye is kind of like on a stalk up top, and there's just like this long nerve with little legs, and it just scuttles across the table. And as it looks around, you can actually see what it's looking at as it looks around the table and crawls over to the woman at the head of the table. She picks it up, and it just kind of like does a little loop around her arm and then into her palm. Good boy. Thank you. And shoves it into her mouth, and that eye goes dark. You now have disadvantage on any perception checks on vision outside of 50 feet. Within 50 feet, you do not have that penalty.
Advantage. Seems vaguely familiar.
You all finish your conversation, and even Tosha, you feel compelled to like take a little nibble of this. It is the same sort of almost tofu-like material that you typically eat. It isn't a finer broth. It's actually like you taste it and you're like, oh, this is weirdly nice. And as you have that thought, all of you taking like one bite of the meal, you appear back on the pathway, just sitting down, holding a clump of dirt in your hand that you have just taken a nibble of.
You gonna finish that?
Hmm.
Well, I obviously fared the best here, as I'm now multi-classing into pirate.
Yeah, as you all look, you see Tosha kind of not frantically, but uneasily looking around to the group. You see that Derek is missing an eye, but I believe that is the only physical things that you notice.
Okay. So I owe someone a debt of thanks and a good slap upside the head for sacrificing something on my behalf.
Despite however much you might want to smack me upside the head, I can promise that I understand you well enough not to trade anything on your behalf.
I don't know what
wasn't
you're
me.
speaking of.
Oh my God, Callie, it was you.
What? And she just like puts her hat back down like real low.
Do
Yeah,
you
Derek's
know
like,
how
yeah, we all
many
know.
Do
We
you
all
know
know.
how many children I have? First, I do hug her very, very tightly, and then I throttle her a little bit. I'm like, what
No.
did you do? What did you give?
Well, I don't always use my head, and now parts of it I won't be able to, I guess. I meant to just show her Val, but she took some of my knowledge. So when it comes to dragons, I won't be so useful. So, but it's nothing, in for what it could give for everyone. So
Nate, I don't know how to edit this, so I'm just gonna have out a sick charge.
You're not
Cool.
wrong. We have the recipes for making the tea
ah,
and how to cultivate the forest.
and that is a much bigger harvest on what I sowed. So
Derek will reach up and like touch each of them on the go. And robot.
yeah, that might be useful later. Maybe I might need robot eyes. Um,
As to
Tosha, are you okay?
walks into a tree.
I did learn a lot. I can't really see anymore.
At all?
Yeah, Tosha, as you look around, you do still have just at the very center of your vision, just this little dot of what you can see. So you can just focus on what's important. As you look about, if you spend an action to focus on one thing, you can track that thing or person as long as they move no more than 5 feet.
Oh.
Anything else, you are blind to.
Yeah, my vision is very limited.
Do I have good news for you?
I was going to say, if you're mentioning robot eyes, you have patient number 1.
I don't
3.
know. Would I know, like, I'm trying to think if I would think about, like, if this is something I've sacrificed to the grandmother, if there would be, like, magical things barring me from, like, healing my sight. Is that something I would be able to, that I would infer from this, or is that something Tosha wouldn't even really know? I mean, I presume because of what happened to Olena, like, there were healing magics and things that were tried to fix her sight, but it was not able to be fixed. So I assume I have a little context there. But how would I interpret, I guess, the idea of like robotic eyes if I've like sacrificed my vision in some way for these questions?
So you're familiar with Olena's situation, which the most powerful magics that anyone had access to in Bastion could do nothing for, even though they typically would return sight. As far as a replacement eye, I mean, this is unique. It is a unique thing that you are not super familiar with. Go ahead and give me an Arcana check, and let's just see how that goes.
Hey, Nate, out of curiosity, to help with something like an Arcana check, do you want us to have like a plus to it, or do you want us to be proficient in it?
Proficient.
Okay, cool.
21, first good roll in
Yeah.
5 weeks.
Hey.
All you had to do was trade your sight to a hag, and everything
Yeah.
gets better.
There we go.
With
Everyone at home, take note. That's how you fix your dice.
Cyborg party.
So,
Cyborg party.
thinking through it, and your understanding, limited as it is, because this is a creature of chaos, and you are intimately familiar with chaos. Something like a replacement to your eyes would probably not fix whatever she has done to you. This is something that is cursing or modifying your being beyond simply, if you were to, for example, have given a hand, a spell like regeneration wouldn't fix it, and fixing a fake hand to it probably wouldn't, like, it would go haywire, like it wouldn't work appropriately. Not just because, fake hands are new and hard to make, but also because there's something about this chaos magic that would actively fight it.
So I'll just say to Derek, yeah, I have a feeling, as incredible as your eyes may be that you can make, they won't be able to take root because of the curse that is on me. But it's okay.
Do you know
a
if
Swiss Army hand where one of the fingers was an eye?
There you go. Do you know if this would also apply to Olena? Cool. Okay.
With that roll, like,
Yeah.
basically what
This
I
is-
know about.
I was just going to say, for your edification, Tosha, what happened to Elena was presumably an act of random chaos. This was what happened to you was extremely intentional and focused. So it does feel different in that Elena's maybe with a 21. Elena's a maybe. You are a probably not.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll share
30%
that
of
with
the reason I did this.
Derek. But like Elena, it's possible that was an accident of chaos magic, not a specific, at least to my knowledge, not a specific curse or anything laid upon her.
I was going to say, it's about 30% of the reason why I did it. Fix the relationship, that we can get our paperwork through the government a little bit faster, maybe a little bit of quid pro quo. We want to put an extension on something that maybe isn't super up to code. We can weasel that through. Well, then here, and I'll just give Tosho a big stick.
I
Put that
already
in
have a
front of you.
big stick.
Ah,
It's like a walking stick.
in the interest of time, and this is sort of to everybody who asked for knowledge, can we assume that everything is shared for
Yeah.
people who learned stuff?
That's up to you guys.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm asking the group. Like, is anything going to get held back, or do we all now share everything that we found out?
Yeah, I share everything that I learned with the group, with the exception of the stuff about your grandmother, Elias. I think I want to wait to tell you that privately, just because it's like basically about your grandmother like poisoning her sister and like
I'm gonna tell you right now. Elias will ask, like, did you find out anything? Did you ask about my grandmother? And then, like, subsequently, like, immediately, oh no, you can tell everybody. Like, this is okay.
I mean, fine then. Yeah, I tell everyone then.
Cool. Yeah. Does not care. But no,
Well,
very
tell my
happy to know
grandmother.
that you asked that. That's very nice of you. The reason why I ask is because Elias is going to very specifically say, because this affects everybody, that he asked if there was anything he or we could do in exchange for knowledge on how to protect the people who are currently in Lakshana against the gods that are returning. In other words, like, is there a way to make this peaceful? Is there a way to make it so that Lug is not wiped out off the map? Is there a way to make it so that us are not killed by the gods returning? And very clearly, the answer was not there is nothing you can do, but there is no way to prevent that from happening. That
Well,
we are a historical mistake. And that
so-
is something he's very specifically going to share with everybody.
and I'll share from what I heard her say that like I think she seemed to not really have the same goals that we have in terms of when I asked her about if there was a way to lock the old gods away, she didn't say there wasn't a way, but she said she basically would not help us in hurting them because, so I mean, I think maybe she believes we're a mistake of history, but I don't know if that is her opinion or if that is actually a fact that, all
Yeah.
beings would share. She seems to be very clearly aligned with the old gods in some ways, although, not necessarily acting on their behalf, but seems not to want to hurt them, even though they may destroy people. She doesn't seem as concerned with that. And she also hates the Asher. So whatever the Asher and um Amon Keese were doing to try to protect the elves, it sounds like she was very against that.
Elias would make pretty clear that if you give us all the information we find out about Chris Vadine, great, awesome. That's good knowledge to know. But Elias would make very clear that like the priority here is his family, you and yours, and then like Lug for him. And it sounds like this is gonna be bad. So whatever we need to do, we should do it. And he didn't get a lot from the grandmother of the mountains. He didn't ask for a lot because the one thing that he basically asked for, the one thing that according to him mattered, she said was impossible. And what that basically means to him is that there is whatever is coming is going to be bad. And if there's anything that we can do to protect whatever it is we care about, we should do that now.
That's fair. I would also say from my conversation with her, I'm not sure if there is nothing we can do or if there is nothing she would help us do.
Fair.
Mm.
But and I think that this is like in agreement with Tosha that we found out. You said you shared everything. We found out like what Svafa's interest with the Asher was, and the answer: the Asher's not a savior. And from the stuff that we've learned before, I believe the line, if I can find it again, was something along the lines of, I have to find, there we go. The magics of Elion are a reprieve, not a god of creation or bounty, may just delay the eventual ending of the world. That is what I have in my notes, and that is my understanding of what we understand of the Asher. But that means that at the end of the day, there is something we don't know about the Asher. We don't know what the Asher's like vibe for this was. Elias's point at this point is basically that we need to figure out what that is. And whether or not we can save everyone, we need to figure out what it is we can do to save the people that we want to be saved, at the very least.
Giant harpoon gun.
Sure, whatever it is that it takes to make this work. If we need a god harpoon gun,
Fuck yeah.
Do you
cool.
suppose that their hatred of the Asher and such is why Eustace was in the castle?
No idea. I mean, with Eustace in particular, she didn't
Mhm.
exactly wait for a conversation. She just started causing problems and trying to kill us. So
Yeah.
maybe that's just her thing, and she just likes fucking with people. From what you've said, it sounds like we're going to have to deal with her again. That sounds fun. But I say we rest. I say we go to the temple as soon as possible. We
Mm.
deal with whatever tea Mama wants to make. We deal with the sword. We get whatever information we can get. We go back to that town, Bastion. We deal with the Asher and we find out what we need to know. And then we do whatever we need to make sure that the people that we care about don't die from what is coming. Because it doesn't sound like we can absolutely stop it. Is everybody okay with that as sort of the plan?
We also need to find a jeweler. Not jeweler, what are they called? Gem cutter.
Sure.
I
That
think
sounds
I
doable.
think I agree with you overall.
Mhm.
I think what's coming is bad from what we know. The old god's coming back, at least for us, for any mortal beings on this planet, seems to be bad. I think it was pretty clear in my conversation, at least with the grandmother of the mountain, that she has a very particular perspective and alignment on it. So I also think if she is allied with the way things were before Elion joined the worlds, if she doesn't thinks that all mortal beings here are a mistake of history, she wouldn't tell us even if there were a way to stop it. So I don't necessarily want to just only go on what she said. I don't think she would lie because of the exchange that we gave for the information. But I also don't want to make decisions only based on what she's told us because she might want
100%.
us to believe there's no way to stop it. And I don't know. There's still a lot we don't know. And I think you're right that we need to find what we can at the library. Just like before, there might be other things now that we can know to look for or research. And I still want to try to talk to the Asher during the Ascension because they clearly would have a lot of insight into what happened with the old gods last time and what might be possible now, even if they aren't an ultimate solution. They might have tools that we could use. It also sounds like the old gods have gone to sleep many times before, even before the Asher. So maybe we can learn something about those other times and put it all together. But I guess I don't necessarily feel any less hope than I did before about the situation, just based on what she said, because I think even if there were some way she knew, she would not have told us.
That's fair.
Is it not also possible that it can't be stopped, but it could be altered? Um, for instance, if Val here is a portion of it, and I'll let him like climb up my arm onto my shoulders. Like if he doesn't turn to be a destructor, he's just a good dragon god, I guess. Then perhaps he will not partake in destroying things and could be brought another way.
I'm a good
We don't
boy.
know. You're very good boy. Yeah.
I say this very specifically. I don't speak Draconic. My understanding is that Val does understand maybe other languages. And just very clearly, whatever it is you want, I will get it for you. Just let me know what it is you want. Just don't destroy everything. That's all I
Meat.
ask.
Meat.
Cool. We'll get you meat, buddy. We'll get you so much meat.
His eyes get really big. Excited anime eyes.
Nate, if Tosha tells us about Chris Vadine, I'm gonna check the
Reference
I think
to
actually
Elf Friend.
Yeah, actually what I was gonna say is that the book that talks about the elf friend I think is actually Tosha's book. But I would ask for it to try to check that.
There are 2 points that you saw that phrase. You saw it once in Tosha's book, the memoirs of Amon Case.
Elion.
And also in your genealogy book, there was the last disciple of Chris Vadine. And as you flipped that page, you do see that the words have filled themselves in. The last disciple of Chris Vadine, elf friend.
Also, wanted to point out that perhaps all the old gods don't think in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Which we don't really know yet because we've only heard of 2 of them. But we know this elf friend has before, just by their name and also as assisted. So there may be some of the old gods that we could also find alliance with to deal with the more destructive forces as well.
Give me a... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. To clarify, Nate, it's Violk Sparrow, Keeper of the Moon, Speaker of Tomes, Chief Sage of the Lady of Saloon. So that is the last disciple of Chris Vadine. That was Violk Sparrow.
Yes.
Okay. Just double checking. Sorry.
And also, as you're kind of glancing through there, you notice another word is filled in on the same page elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Fulsterin Vastek is...
Where?
In this page, as you're kind of looking through at some of the titles. You, under a different elven name, Keeper of the Seeds, Grower of the Forest, and Tender of the Lands, friend of Fulsterin Vastek, has filled in.
Okay, cool. I personally do not remember this, but if at all possible, I would like to step to the side of the path and basically say, and I have zero idea if this is going to work. I would like to parrot what Tosha said before and basically just say like, is there any way to get back to your dinner table, grandmother of the mountains? Just me, not my friends, just to be very, very clear about how this is working. Can I come back in?
You make your request and you go to
Uh-huh.
step off the path, and as you step off the path, you feel your stomach is extremely full. Like you like couldn't eat anymore if you wanted to. And actually there's a tree, and behind that tree you're like, actually my stomach is really full, and is trying to make its way out, and you run over to the tree, and there's actually a lot of new and unexpected pain down in your nether regions as you relieve yourself. There's like a bunch of bumps down there that are extremely painful, and you have no idea why. But you have not been invited back to the table. You have not been punished for stepping off the path, but you have not been invited back to the table.
There's some part of me that somehow blames Derek for this. I don't know why, and then I go, oh, right, I'm an alchemist. I'll just make my own cream. Cool. It's almost like this was pointless. And then I will go back and go, okay, cool. I was gonna ask if there was any way for us to get in contact with Chris Vadine. That's clearly not on the table at the moment. I say we rest, and then we like go to the elf temple.
That's what you get for taking my Lug script. Or no, did you take the life script? Which one did you take?
I don't have jack shit, bud.
Oh, you said you had one last time.
I don't know what we're talking about.
The snap, the teleport snapper.
You said you have both. I was like,
did,
okay,
and then
cool.
last week you're like, oh, I've got this thing, and I'm like, oh fuck, is he saying he's got it again?
Dude, I want to be clear. I thought I did, but if you said you have both, I'm okay with that. So we're good.
Well, minus your butt.
I'm just gonna assume you have both of them.
Is there anything you guys want to do before you bed down for the night and set watch?
More of a clarifying question. Looking at the wyvern scales for armor or accoutrements, which I most definitely spelt wrong, and what was the other one? The pinchers from the Kruthic. What? I guess what's my question here? Because they're organic, I guess is the word I'm looking for here. Is a blacksmith's still the appropriate destination for like making, for example, a wyvern shield?
Yeah, so you could go to a leather worker, but you could also go to a blacksmith. There are ways to treat particular hardy types of hides, to harden them almost like steel and treat them like steel.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because are there any bits that I'm gonna need prior to, like, is it gonna need like the little fasteners or whatever for the arm?
Yes,
for the
yes,
shield?
exactly. And as you think about that, if you want to make something that is essentially, if you want to treat it like leather and make something that is more like leather, like a lighter or medium armor, then you would want to go to a leather worker. But if you wanted to make something heavy out of it, like a shield or a heavy armor or something that is more like steel, you know that you can treat it to be hard like steel and then treat it like steel.
Okay. Because in the case of like Mama's druidic nurse, stuff like fasteners don't count as like wearing metal, right?
You could make fasteners out of not metal, but also like a few pins or a few screws. That would actually, you can make rivets out of metal, and Mama could still wear it. Like much like Mama's got buttons and fasteners and things, and many of them are made of wood, but some of them are not. It's not her preference, but certainly it can be done, and it won't impact her powers or anything.
Nate, because you asked about stuff that we wouldn't want to do as we're like settling down for the evening, I have a very important question, and that is how much wood in universe, because you're going to have to decide this, does hemorrhoid cream cost? Because as Alchemy Tools very specifically states,
5 silver.
I can make stuff. 5
5
silver,
silver
cool.
for 1 dose. 5 silver for 1 dose.
I will spend however much of my thing I have to spend because of the whole like consumable amount bullshit thing for this.
I would say that you could, if you were somewhere that you felt safe to forage in the forest, and that
cool.
you could get 5 silvers worth of stuff, or you could actually use 1 dose of your healing kit, and I'd say that you could take that and stretch that over a 5-day period. So like you could take that and then mix that with oils and other things to actually make it. Use your alchemy kit to turn 1 dose into 5 days of treatment.
I bought a bunch of alchemy supplies actually before we left
Oh, there
to
you go.
make like perfume
5
and soap and
silver
oil.
of that.
However, in the interest of not dealing with the exchange rate, I'll just go ahead and burn a healer's kit use.
Sounds good. All right.
Uh,
I was going
before
to
I
use
go
this
to
for something too. Oh, sorry.
before I go to sleep, I make sure I pull Callie aside and I talk to Callie about the appearance of
I'm sorry, I have to step away. I'll be right back. Go ahead and continue.
the true appearance of the godmother of the mountain. Just because I was concerned a little bit about who we were dealing with. But it, also as a reminder that, she is part of the old gods and the old connections.
The grandmother of the mountain, you mean? Oh yeah, she'll share that she hugged a big rock and it like almost crushed her to death. So like the little form that was appearing before them was not
Oh
legit
no.
tied to that rock.
Well, and a barrel-chested, spindly armed ancient rock creature is one of her true forms. The actual slab of stone was
Wow.
the grandmother of the mountain, but the form within it.
And like an avatar.
I don't know how private this is. I'm assuming it is private. At
Well, I
some
mean, as
point,
private as we are with anything.
Or is not going off the path can allow you to be.
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
If we're all in a camp together,
Hmm.
But I mean,
Elias's
it was
point is just that, like, if the grandmother of the mountain straight up is the mountain, if Sister Icy Heart straight up is the glacier, what is Putrid Eustace? Is that a bog? Is that like the concept of disease?
Could be.
Yeah, that sounds
well,
fun.
I don't really think that it's that she is the mountain, but of the mountain. Kind of like the tree we saw earlier,
Hmm.
equal part nature and spirit,
Hmm.
but not fully one or the other. I mean, a corporeal form, maybe I saw the true form, but maybe also not. But I just wanted to make sure, Callie, that you knew who you were exchanging with.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
And we better be kind to every single creature and blade of grass we see in this forest, because I don't imagine she would take too kindly to anything else.
No, she'd like us to be very, very kind to all of the normal fauna and flora in this area, from my understanding. Pretty clear on
Okay.
that.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, really good friends with the wyvern and the baby. I believe the name, Nate, was, what was it, Rosalind? Which one was it?
Rosalind.
I very specifically share that and stress, like, do not kill the baby. That would be bad. Very bad.
All right. Good to know. That was
Yeah.
close to death.
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
Oof.
let's get some shut eye if we can.
Mm.
Yeah, I think Tosha just like kind of struggles, like stumbles around a lot, like trying to get their stuff set up. And takes out the like necklace with the woven cord again and holds it for a second. Just kind of thinking about Olena again and probably what she went through. shortly after the event last time, and obviously we're all close together on the path, so they can't really like go away anywhere, but I think they are even more quiet than usual. And kind of keep that necklace out like in a place where they can like feel it as they like go to sleep.
Hmm. We'll put Tosha's horse on some kind of leader as we travel to make that easier until they find their bearings, I suppose. I can't even comprehend the adjustment. Very brave.
I mean, I took someone else's sight, so I thought if I was going to give up anything to learn what I needed to learn, that would be only fair.
Well, if I can help in any way, you just let me know. And I'm gonna post up closer to Tosha than I normally would, because I wanna look out for them.
Yeah, and I think throughout, like, as you're kind of traveling, there are times, like, if you take a curve or, like, we're close to any, any area where it would be a little more uncertain, like, Tosha does kind of, like, grab your arm at some points if they're unsteady or, aren't able to focus on exactly what's going on in the moment as you're kind of traveling that first day.
All right. Well, you set up to camp, some of you with more difficulty than usual, um, having traveled a day here and supped. You are very full, quite well feasted from your dinner with the grandmother of the mountain. You bed down, taking turns to watch, and that is where we will pick up next time. So, thank you everybody for joining us again. I'm talking to folks who are presumably watching, none of you. Thank you all, players, for being here. Really happy to get back to this game. Was looking forward to this encounter for a while, so really glad we got to have the grandmother of the mountain conversation, because I was really afraid you were about to just skip it. And we will see you all again next week. Same Derek time, same Dafara channel.